Hello everybody, my name is Cyrus Mburu, a student architect from the University of Nairobi, Department of Architecture, and I'll be taking you through my project, which is the design of Coast Square Market and revitalization of Coast Square in Gardeni, Lamu County. Lamu County is a county located along the East African coastline, which has a significant influence from the Middle East and the Indian architecture, Persian, and the Omani. So the site is actually located in the mainland, and it is actually sits on a 64,000 square meters piece of land. This is the conservation zone here. Then the site is located in a buffer zone. So the critical problems that I was addressing in this project included one, lack of designated social spaces for the various genders, including the ladies and the men and the kids. I was also addressing the issue of security. Most of the spaces are not well lit, and this space becomes underutilized at a certain point of the day. And I was also addressing lack of designated place to dispose of the waste. Um, in terms of the climatic aspect, I was addressing some of the existing facilities that are used by the vendors in that area they are not thermally comfortable, and as such, they market produce goods from this other end of the mashambani get to rot easily, and as such, the farmers get to make losses. So that is one of the driving issues that drove me to undertake this project. And so, in terms of the objectives, one was to harmonize the old and the new, just to provide a framework of how to design in a buffer zone in a manner that is in sync with the old and sits with the new in a certain manner without disruption. So, in terms of trying to get the design philosophy, I delved into the Swahili TAS system, which is a system whereby members who are closely related actually cohabit in a similar place. So if you zoom keenly, you'll actually be able to see that the various build forms sit together, and between the meter system, we actually get the street patterns. We get to borrow the ventilation patterns. We get to borrow also how the different buildings shade each other climatically, and we also get to understand how in terms of um, gender designated spaces, we get to borrow that, and that will be carried forward into the design. So in terms of looking at we have the open site A and the site B, and that is what we'll be looking to have as an architectural solution that answers the problem that I began by highlighting. So in terms of the master plan was looking to address the issues of infrastructure and in terms of socio-cultural aspects. And all that culminated into a harmonious design that was actually able to fit into the old in a harmonious manner without overwhelming what is actually existing. So if you could zoom here to the solution that I actually came up with. This one here points out to what was actually existing before we intervened. And then after we intervened, this is the solution that we found that was answering the questions to those problems that we highlighted at the beginning. So the market is what we have right here. It addresses the issue of having a proper place and somewhere dignified for the various vendors to display their goods. It also addresses the issues of social spaces, because you can see the various pocket of spaces that are created within the market that not only serve as outdoor working station, but also serve as climate tools to try to make this place thermally comfortable, because Lamu is hot and humid. So somebody needs to be extremely sensitive when you are coming up with a design in this area. And then this other part, the sector, answers that issue of entertainment, recreation, religious, all manner of community-oriented facilities are located in this side where I started by saying the Coast Square. And then the existing structures that I highlighted, the mosque and the church, and trying to create for them the squares, which are basically the places of meeting, and people actually get to socialize in those spaces, and also um, trying to create an identity to the Lamu people, which is very rich and very like outward oriented. So this project, what makes it unique in terms of environmental approach, key issues that are integrated in this facility include use of high thermal mass walls, which include 500 millimeter thick minimum wall, which reduces the time lag for for the for the use of Earth climate. And then the other aspect that climatically is addressed in terms of making this market very thermally comfortable is the use of um, wind catchers and the use of thermal chimneys. So you can see we have here thermal chimneys here, and then we have a wind catcher here that is actually ornamented to pay homage to the rich cultural heritage of Lamu. In terms of even landscaping, I was very sensitive to make sure that the landscaping hardscape, we are using the materials such as cobblestone um, and cabro, just to make sure that the materials are porous, to make sure that water actually percolates into the ground and makes the water table actually higher. In terms of value addition of these projects, um, the market came up with stalls that were able to be climate resilient and was answering the question of sustainability. So in one stall actually uses all manner of sustainable materials, and it's flexible. The user, the vendor, can actually join the various components depending on how he intends to utilize the space. So in terms of also making sure that the structure is fully ventilated naturally. So it's raised off the ground just to capture the ocean currents as they flow through, to make sure that not only the user is kept cool, but also the products get aerated, and as such, they don't get to rot, allowing the user to maximize on the profits. Also, in terms of material use of the structure, the material uses the palm leaves from the Pate Island, which actually allows light to percolate through and also tries to filter out glare. So the structure becomes more comfortable and save the community having to use this canvas to just to block the sunlight glare. And also another aspect of the stove that makes it very convenient and use is the use of boriti, which is also locally sourced, to put up the structure. And finally, the last sheet we are looking at is what happens before we intervene and how the community will actually benefit as soon as our intervention takes or rather gets implemented. So this is how the cost square used to look like, very underutilized and with structures that are in disuse and disrepair. And then I began by saying we are providing a social hub where people of various walks, be it Christian, be it Muslim, where they get to meet and interact and exchange their ideas. So this one now, the Coast Square has now been fully activated, and that has now been implemented. So in terms of even entertainment and recreation, this structure that was initially meant to be used for indoor cinema and it was in disrepair now has been brought back, and the space outside it now is being used to bring back the old culture of donkey auctioneering and all those other activities, such as the cultural festivals such as the Maulidi. This now Coast Square, which is in terms of the scale compared to the other squares that I was mentioning before, becomes even more critical and central to the community. So, and that other street that I highlighted, the Birikani Square, now you can see it has become fully activated, and donkeys being the main form of transport in Lamu, now we have incorporated them in our design. And then finally, the Kirumbezi Square, which actually is one of the dances that is practiced in Lamu, we have a square fully designated for that function that will address that issue of cultural exchange, as well as the festivals, the Kirumbezi dances, and all other religious um, festivals will actually be held in that facility. Thank you.